What's up guys, Pollo here, we're back with Sandrone. Today we're going over her constellations, what each one does and how much DPS she gains from every constellation. I stream on Kick every Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday, and if you find this video helpful, please consider subscribing to support the channel. Let's start with a quick recap for those who aren't familiar with Sandrone yet. As of now, she is a cryo main DPS whose damage mostly comes from stellar superconduct damage. She wants team with consistent cryo and electro application, and her base DPS in version 4, because there's no further changes in version 5, is 35.9k. Her DPS alone. Once again, the highest DPS in the game. Sandrone looks incredibly promising, but she'll also become the benchmark for future characters. With that out of the way, let's look at her Constellation 1. Her Constellation 1 states that while performing her charge attack, the blue gauge feels 50% slower, allowing her to stay on the field longer. On top of that, it increased the entire team's stellar conduct damage bonus by 30%. This constellation actually changed her playstyle quite a bit. Let's remember Sandrone's C0 combo, Constellation 0. Charge attack, elemental skill. Charge attack, elemental skill. Charge attack and elemental burst. Since she now stays on field longer, we can no longer fit 3 charge attack in the rotation. Instead, the combo becomes charge attack, elemental skill, charge attack, elemental burst. Now hold on a second. One of Sandrone's charge attack usually lasts almost 4 seconds. With Constellation 1, it lasts a little bit over 6 seconds. Because of that, I also added 1 extra second on the rotation length when calculating her DPS. It is necessary. As for the 30% stellar conduct damage bonus, that's a bit harder to evaluate. Right now, in version 6.7, C1 Constellation 1 benefits Sandrone herself and Jae if she's on the team. If you don't have Jae, the constellation is less effective. If we get another stellar conduct sub DPS in the future, then the Constellation 1 becomes more valuable. Taking a middle ground approach, Sandrone's C1 is good, but it could be even better over time. Her DPS reaches 114.3% of Constellation 0, which is pretty standard increase for a Constellation 1, especially considering it also buffed the team's stellar conduct damage. Good constellation, though it has room to age even better. Moving on, Constellation 2. This one increased the crit damage of the heavy stellar conduct hits during her charge attack by 40%. But that's not all. After each heavy hit, the next one gains an additional 20% crit damage up to a maximum of 60%. One important detail, this effect resets every time you start a new charge attack. You're not running around with plus 100% crit damage on most of your attacks. That's not how it works. With Constellation 2, Sandrone reaches 135% of her Constellation 0 DPS. That's a very solid increase, especially considering how high her baseline DPS already is. This percentage might look normal on paper, but because her starting point is so high, the actual gains are better than what most characters get. Constellation 3 gives 3 additional levels of her normal attacks, meaning her primary damage source gets stronger. And here's the surprise. Because of the interaction with Constellation 1 and Constellation 2, Constellation 3 ends up providing a larger increase than it normally should. It's actually stronger than Constellation 2 itself. Usually Constellation 2 is the constellation that provides the bigger DPS jump, but that's not the case here. At Constellation 3, Sandrone's reaches 158% of her C0 DPS. It's just absolutely insane. Constellation 4 grants several additional stellar conduct hits whenever Sandrone deals stellar conduct damage. In practice, she enters the field, performs her rotation, and gains extra stellar conduct hits throughout it. These hits scale with 125% of her attack and occur once every 4 seconds rather than continuously. That translates into roughly 2 extra hits per charge attack for a total of 4. At this point, Sandrone reaches 179% of her Constellation 0 DPS. Constellation 5 is simple, 3 additional levels to her elemental burst. Straight to the point. It provides a small DPS increase, bringing her up to 185% of Constellation 0. Nothing crazy, but perfectly fine. Now for Constellation 6, remember all those early leaks claiming Sandrone will play similarly to Neuvillette? That was some of the first misinformation surrounding the character. Her combo doesn't actually change. Instead, during her charge attack, after the third heavy stellar conduct hit, Sandrone fired a continuous beam for the remainder of the attack. During that beam, she deals 4 additional stellar conduct hits, each scaling at 80% of her attack. The Constellation 6 description specifies that these are up to 4 extra hits in addition to any subsequent heavy hits that will normally occur. So yes, Constellation 6 essentially grants up to 4 extra hits per charge attack, resulting in 8 total. With this constellation, Sandrone reaches 252% of her Constellation 0 DPS, which is exactly the kind of damage you do expect from a limited C6 character. It also clears that C6 provides the largest DPS increase by far. In terms of efficiency, the constellations rank like this: C6, C4, C3, C2, C1, and C5. And that's all for today, guys. Hopefully this video helped you understand the value and purpose of each constellation. Don't forget to follow me on Kick. I stream there regularly, and with that said, see you in the next time.